Hi, good evening. Thank you for being here. Tonight is really cool. Thursday night, Sip and Stamp with Stampin' Gloria at Crafty Corner. I want to tell you that tonight we're going to have a lot of fun with one of my very favorite die cuts. It's called Many Medallions. And I'm going to show you 3 different cards and the diversity that this die has in making beautiful cards. Very simple. It looks complicated, it looks intricate, but I'm going to show you how easy it is. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to do today. One of our cards is Let Your Faith Be Bigger Than Your Fear, and we're using Just Jade and Calypso Coral. The other card, notice that there's some similarity. This is Many Medallions. The other card is about being amazing. This is a gift we want to share with somebody. And then another one is a card very similar to one I've posted before on my blog and my Facebook page. And it is that we are so grateful that we are friends. And I am very grateful for your friendship. Now, the cards we're making tonight are a little larger than our typical size. These are actually from Memories and More, Flowers for Every Season. So this packet that you get has the card base already put together for you, and it has a matching envelope. We are going to be using a piece of Calypso Coral, Calypso Coral, and it is the largest rectangle die in the layering rectangles. So we want that piece already cut. I've already saved us a little bit of time. We're also going to be using a piece of Just Jade, and this card base, as well as the other card bases we're using tonight, are from our 2020-2022 in color suite. And so this is a piece of cardstock that I've used the layering rectangular dies to cut, and it is approximately 3 7/8 by 2 5/8. And then this piece that we'll be stamping on is 3 1/2 by 2 1/4 of Whisper White. So we'll be doing that. Well, as you can tell, between what we're going to do and what we've already done, there are some important pieces missing, and that's the Many Medallion. So part of the biggest challenge, between what we're going to do. Sorry about that. I thought I had that volume down. So what you can tell that's missing is the actual Many Medallions, and that die is actually pretty complex. Isn't that gorgeous? It is not easy. If you're a first timer cutting out dies, I'm going to show you a huge secret to success. I take a sheet of bounce, dryer sheet, So what we're going to do is we're going to be putting our bounce sheet, our cardstock, and our die together. Let me get my Big Shot machine out. That's my die cutting machine. And place it here on the table so that you can see what I'm doing. I have a magnetic platform. By the way, folks, our new Big Shot, well, it's not a Big Shot, it's called Cut and Emboss machine, is going to be featured in September. It'll be available to our customers. We've had, with COVID, unfortunately, there have been shipping delays. You've seen it throughout the community. The stores are slightly undersupplied. Shipping delays occur even with Amazon, so we've delayed the sale of our cut and emboss machine, but it's very exciting. It's coming soon. All right, let me go back to bounce dryer sheet, Whisper White cardstock, and the die from Many Medallions. This is the big die. There are 3 slender pieces that also complement this one. We won't be using those tonight, but I did want to let you know about them. This is the featured piece, and the reason I'm featuring it is because one night I was sitting here playing with all the different colors, and I cut out several of these pieces and found that as I cut it apart, I had so many possibilities. So tonight, that's what I'm going to share with you. If you follow my Facebook page, you've already seen a couple of these ideas. So I'm not going to spend my evening showing you how to make those because once I show you these 3 cards tonight, you'll see how easy those 2 cards actually were. I'm going to put my die cut to the side, move my magnetic platform and my base plate. This is the beauty of this. Now I have a lot of little pieces, a lot of shreds showing up on my table, and that's going to be okay. We'll clean it up later. But look at how fast and easy that is. Okay, now in Stampin' Up, we also have a foam pad and a brush that helps us take all those little shreddings off. Oh, so messy, but so easy. Toss some of that out of the way. And yes, as I mentioned, yes, you see some residual pieces, but I can assure you I can reuse that, and I'll show you how I will do that shortly. There we go. Isn't that so pretty? Okay, let's take a moment for some housekeeping here. Oh boy. I tell you, all these little pieces, they end up downstairs and everywhere in this household. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight, we need to feature it on our Just Jade card. And if you notice, it makes a beautiful frame around this Just Jade rectangular piece. So what I'm going to actually do is double the possibilities for my cards. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to tuck it right inside underneath that first row and first column. And I'm going to make a little diagonal jab and just hugging that line. I'm going to go down the side here. If I don't get caught up in here, I'm going to go down the side here and keep snipping until I get to the last row next to the first column. Oh, I see a little piece that didn't pop out. Sometimes that happens. You just keep your eyes open and just fix it. No biggie. Now I'm going to make a little turn here and trim again just as close as I can, snug, because this piece that I'm cutting right now is a piece I'm going to be using in another card. So again, I come to the corner, leave that last column, bottom row, make a little turn here, keep snug to the center, snug to the center, and then make a little diagonal cut there. Again, snug to the center, snug to the center. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Wait till you see what we do with that one. So now I have my frame, and I'm going to pull my Just Jade Memories and More card, which is the Flowers for Every Season Memories and More card with the matching envelope. And I'm going to be placing this frame, I'm going to use my little dotted lines as a guide. Now, what I like about this frame, while there's a lot of lines and possibilities there for adhering it to the card, there's some real solid circles here that allow me to put some liquid adhesive. Okay, let's grab another one. I just tested that. It must have clogged the tip a little bit. All right, we're going to put a little bit of adhesive in the center of each of these circles. And that's going to give us just the right amount of adhesive to put our frame on our card. Okay, there we go. I'll flip this over using the dots as my guide. I'm going to place this. The other good thing about liquid adhesive, it gives you a little bit of sliding room there. Whoops. Now I'm going to use a silicone mat because the glue will stick to my fingers, but it will not stick to my silicone mat. And the silicone mat will pick up some of that extra adhesive. Now, if you're concerned, when I trimmed out the center, I was very careful to trim it sleek. If you're concerned about these little edges that are poking out, don't be. We're going to cover it very quickly with Calypso Coral. Oh dear, I messed up. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Ah, thank you for liquid adhesive. Let's put a little bit of glue back here. I forgot to put my Coral Calypso. That was going to be my huge contrast piece. I'm still going to use those dotted lines as a guide. Now I can use the Coral Calypso as a guide. Oh my goodness, that was a close call. Can you believe it? See, no such thing as a mistake in crafting. Only opportunity to be creative. Let's use that silicone mat again. Press, press, press. Keep that piece in place. Still, my point was I'm going to hide that with Just Jade. And so I'll be putting that piece down. As a matter of fact, I want to put it down, but I want to lift it a little bit. So I'm going to put some stamping dimensionals behind it. And I'm going to use the larger. We have two sizes. I'm going to use the larger stamping dimensionals because we have a broad surface here. I'll put about 6, 3 on each side. These Stampin' Dimensionals have a very strong adhesion, so they're great for projects and making them pop up and look very professional. All right, so now I have the Just Jade centered, and now I have my white frame popped up behind, in front of Coral Calypso. Calypso Coral. I think I'm saying that backwards. Calypso Coral, that's how it is. Calypso Coral, alliteration. All of our colors actually use alliteration. Okay, so on this piece, before I adhere it down, word to the wise, always stamp first before you adhere it, just in case there's ever so slightly an error. It gives you the opportunity to be a little more forgiving. So I need 2 stamps. The first one is my sentiment, faith, may your faith be bigger than your fear. And the other one is actually a poppy that comes from Painted Poppies stamp set. Going to pull out our Calypso Coral ink pad. Pop it open and ink up our stamp, our sentiment, and come right up here. Remember, if you've watched me before, very carefully stamp straight down. Don't wiggle or rock your stamp. And oh, that almost felt like I rocked it, but there we go. I rocked it in the positive way, didn't leave a little side margin. Okay, so now we have our sentiment ready. See how quickly this is really happening. Now I'm going to adhere this down onto the Just Jade cardstock. And this rectangular piece basically measures at about 3.5 by 2.25. These are rectangular dies that are beautiful pieces. Lot of, I haven't even counted or paid attention to how many. I just know there's a lot of these rectangular dies, and they layer beautifully. There's about 2 layers of rectangular dies between this Just Jade and this Calypso Coral piece. Now, there we go. Contrast, Just Jade, Calypso Coral, beautiful frame. You can't even tell that I took the middle out for another project, covered it with Just Jade and Whisper White. We have to have a bow, have to have a little bit of polish to this card, and we're just gonna make a quick little bow. Notice that I do make my bows while still attached to the roll, and that makes it a little economical because I have a tendency to waste less ribbon. Okay, so I'm gonna trim that and trim this one. The best way to keep a ribbon bow on your card is to use a glue dot, and I took mine out of the box already, so this little glue dot will help me put this bow right down here at the bottom of the poppy. See, it gives it a little bit of extra flair. How about that? Isn't that pretty? You know what? Let's give the envelope a little bling, a little polish. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the poppy. It kind of gives my receiver a hint of what's to come inside the card. So let's do that. And see, now I have a coordinating envelope on the outside and the inside. All right, card number 1. Beautiful. Well, in case you're wondering, what are we going to do with that cute little piece that we cut out? We're going to pick out this beautiful magenta color. This is Magenta Majesty. Again, Memories and More, cards and envelope. Here's my matching envelope with inside coordinating color. Put that aside for now. And I am going to layer some pieces for this card. I'm going to actually use some designer series paper, Flowers for Every Season. It's a really cute 6x6 set of designer series paper. Now, I could lay it out here. You notice that I've cut my piece smaller than my dotted lines, but I want to give it a little bit of a pop. So I put a dark contrast that coordinates with my paper. Again, that's the beauty of Stampin' Up! All of our colors coordinate. So this designer series paper has some Magenta Madness, Majesty, some Poppy Parade, some Bumblebee, Just Jade. So all of our colors coordinate nicely. So I'm just going to adhere this designer series paper. See, the back side has that real pretty Just Jade. And we're going to... This is a very narrow margin, so I've got to be really careful before I stick it down. And I'm going to actually pop this up off the card, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm not doing any stamping on it, so it's okay for me to adhere it directly to the card. And again, I have a wide base, so I'm going to surface area here, so I'm going to put about 6 of these dimensionals. Peel those little things off. Now we have some vellum squares, gorgeous vellum squares. I have them in my order that's coming in, should be here in a couple of days. But what occurred to me when I was using the Many Medallions and I cut out the center of that last project, it's almost like my vellum square. And so I'm going to use this white as a background to the flower I'm going to put on this card. So I want to, again, use that adhesive that in those little circles just to hold it in place. There we go. All right, I'm going to now stamp this flower. It comes from, let's see, this one comes from Band Together. And notice that that flower is attached to a beautiful stem and another little flower. But I'm going to show you how we're going to just extract that center piece. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, since I'm getting out my Misty Moonlight, which is a kind of a faded navy blue. It's really pretty. It's almost a denim type of color. That's one of our new colors again. I'm going to stamp You Are Amazing at the bottom of this card. Now let me make sure I have it in the right direction. Let's not make that mistake again. And let me make sure I've lined this up. Straight down, no rocking. Ooh, you are amazing. Okay. Now, oh, I still need this ink. Now I'm going to take this huge flower and I've put it on a smaller block. I put it on a size D block. And the reason for that is that I don't need the whole flower. I don't need pressure on the whole flower. So I'm going to put a little scrap paper here because I'm going to have ink where I don't necessarily need it. I'm going to use a piece of scrap of my magenta and stamp that flower right in there. See that there's a little bit of excess ink. No big deal. I'm going to actually cut this out with a die and grab my little die. Now I like to use, here we go, I like to use washi tape to hold my dies in place. Now, the whole idea of the magnetic base is that it will hold it in place. You can see that it's staying in place. Occasionally, by the time I put my top layer on, or sometimes with the magnetic polarization, that die might slip. And I'm too much of a perfectionist to take that risk. So I'm just going to roll that through. Flower, isn't that pretty? Now, I'm not stamping any leaves to go with it, but what I am doing is giving a leaf effect with some of this really pretty Just Jade ribbon. And this ribbon, I'm making it very simple. I'm just going to cross it over like that. Just double it, trim it. And I like to put a glue dot because that way it holds that fold in the middle. So I'm going to put a little glue dot right here to hold it. Well, did it come off? Come on. There we go. There we go. And fold it like so, so that it opens up a little bit. And then I need a couple more glue dots. Actually, I'm going to put this glue dot here to hold it onto the card. See the glue dot in the back here. So I'm going to hold it onto the card. Then I'm going to, you guessed it, I'm going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of my flower. I'm going to be really generous with these. And I'll be placing that flower right on top of that ribbon. Put it right side up for you. Center it. That Many Medallions piece that I sneaked out of this larger card is now a beautiful background to make that flower pop up, and it still brings in so many multitudes of color. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this. Again, let's give the receiver a little hint of what they're going to get. So I'm going to take my matching envelope and my scrap paper here, and I'm going to ink up the flower a little bit. I'm going to stamp in the lower corner just so that the flower shows up. There we go. Now I have my envelope ready to coordinate with my card. Card number 2. All right, our third card is one that I have posted before, and I actually made this in large quantity because I made it for a card swap. I did put a different sentiment in the middle, and I did use a little bit, I used the same coordinating colors, but I used the other side of that designer series paper. So with Bumblebee as our golden color, I'm going to show you how to pull strips of the Many Medallion and create a different effect altogether. Here is my Bumblebee card base. Make sure I have that directionally correct. And I have already embossed this piece in the background is from Ornate Gardens. It's in a 3D embossing folder. It's got a really nice texture, a lot of little flowers. I love the way that gives the card some dimension. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that placed on our card. Put some adhesive back here. Using a lot of glue tonight, I don't know why, but it works. It sticks well. Maybe I do know why, because twice it saved me when I made a mistake. Okay, that's just going to be my background. Now, this is 5 1/4 by 4 inches wide, 5 1/4 long, 4 inches wide. On a standard base card, it would leave just a smaller trim, but these Memory and More cards are just a little bit larger, which is fine. It's great. We are going to be placing this strip of designer series paper, which should be 5 1/4, and I guess I didn't trim it. In the past, I used that before I cut it. I actually just snipped it off. There we go. That's an easy fix. And then I have this coordinating piece that's going to go above it, and I have a white piece of cardstock that I'm going to stamp on. So you know what, let's go ahead and stamp, get that out of the way. There's only one thing to ink up, and that's our sentiment. And it is so grateful that we are, it says, so grateful that we are friends. I love positive and inspiring cards. Oops, there we go. So grateful we are friends. And now I have what you saw earlier in Bumblebee. And I'm going to use my foam pad and my brush. A lot of times these little pieces won't pop out as quickly and easily. So as you can imagine, I want 2 columns for my card. Well, how easy is that? I have 5 columns, and you already saw me snip once. So this time I'm just going to go straight down the column and trim evenly to the side. And there is one significant difference on the edges. There's a little pointy piece on the edge. So to be symmetrical, I'm going to actually use the outer side. Now, when I mass produced these, I was cautious, but as you can tell, I have 3 leftovers, which gives me an odd number. Fortunately, I had to make about 12 of those cards, so I had lots of opportunity to match them up. But yeah, I want that symmetry, so I'm going to use the outer columns. There we go. Of course, I have this beautiful piece to do. Again, I can make it as a really pretty, cut it in half, and now I have 2 backgrounds for another card. So let's go ahead and, using the same concept as before, we're going to put glue . So keep in mind, when you're mass producing and you have an ornate type of die, there's so much you can do by using it and splitting it into pieces. There's just a variety and multiple cards you can use it on. So now I'm getting the backing off of my sentiment. I've already layered it. I put some dimensionals. In fact, let me put one in the center so it doesn't sag. I'm going to put this right here. I think I managed to silence every device except my watch. Okay, and now the coordinating ribbon, again, and in color, is the Bumblebee ribbon. And I'm just going to make a quick little bow here, starting at the end. Sometimes it takes me a couple of tries to make it just the size I wanted. Getting a little better and faster at it. Seems like I make these things all the time. There we go. So a little tug, trim it. Oh, this one, I got a little carried away when I trimmed that. I actually have scissors that I use just for ribbon. Okay, we need a little glue dot. We're going to place it there at the bottom. So grab this glue dot here, put some pressure, pick up the dot, and put it right there. There you go. Isn't that so elegant? And all you're doing is you're rolling a piece of cardstock through an embossing folder, a piece of cardstock through dies, and just cutting them up so that they fit whatever design you're trying to feature. So this is the 3rd card for tonight. Now, the other cards I've posted on my blog and my Facebook page, these were my original ones. This one is Misty Moonlight up against the Seaside Spray. This stamp set right here is Birds and Branches, a really cute brand new set that I've only had the chance to use once, but I thought that just gave it such a nice background. And then a quick sentiment, thinking of you. One solid piece. And this is when I was using the bounce dryer sheets like four times per dryer sheet. And remember, you get 2 when you cut it in half. This magenta just pops when you put it up against either a black or Night of Navy cardstock. So on this one, I decided to put basic black cardstock. I use my daisy punches, the medium and the large size. And of course, I told you about my favorite Perennial Essence centers that unfortunately are now retired, but I was, I'd like to say, smart enough to hoard them because I just love those centers. And then I stamped 2 sentiments side by side for this card. So these are whole sheet Many Medallion cards. Here's partial, 2 columns. And then the card we made before had the center used as a background to make that flower pop. And then we used the outer part to make a frame so that our sentiment was our focal point. There you go, 5 different cards, 3 of which we went through tonight out of Many Medallions. Can you tell? It's one of my favorites. I hope you enjoyed making cards with me tonight. I will post more information on my blog. Again, just a reminder, go to my website, www.stampinggloria.com, or my store, stampinggloria.stampinup.net.